Welcome to the From the 108 podcast, starring the drunk uncles of White Sox Twitter. He's a Twitter-like whore, an Instagram thirst trap, and your grandma's guilty pleasure, Beef Loaf. A West Coast attitude in a decidedly Midwest body, My Sock Summer. And your host, he's sharing obscure music thoughts to give you time to hit the bathroom, Teresa E.
Thank you, Cornsey. Welcome to the From the 108 podcast. Get ready for some baseball, beer, and bullshit. And remember the drinking rules. If Beef Loaf says allegedly, or that he wrote a blog about that, you drink. If My Sock Summer doesn't know a player or mentions his time on the West Coast, you drink. And if I swear or say, here's the thing, you drink. Of course, if you tip $1.08, we'll all drink, and I'm back to drinking, so heck yeah. And if you've tip $5, you could tell one of us to shut the fuck up for 5 minutes. It'll probably be me, and I can't wait so I can go to sleep for just a moment. All right, fellas, big question for you two. What are you drinking? Beef, what are you drinking tonight, my friend?
As it usually is on a Thursday night, I got my red wine handy, and for My Sock Summer, I got the backup, little caffeine for the kid. Got to keep that rolling, baby. You know what? This has been an unbeatable combination. I got to keep it going for now. At some point, I'll switch back over to tequila or something else fun. But right now, the red wines treat me so damn well.
I like what you're talking about with that red wine handy. That's a big seller off Strip in Las Vegas.
Yep, right by the Italian restaurant. Yep.
My Sock Summer, what are you drinking tonight, my friend?
Tonight, I just polished off this bottle of Knob Creek Maple, the smoked maple, which is delicious and 90 proof. After I am done with that first glass, I will be drinking these small batch 4 roses that I picked up over at Costco. It's not bad. It's not great. It's right there, right chilling in the middle. It's a pretty decent buy over at the Costco. I think it's only like $35. So, Teresa, what are you drinking tonight?
I love it. I'm going whiskey tonight. I'm going some double rye, some High West double rye.
Ooh.
It's a tasty one. I really like this one. It's not too high in alcohol for what it is. So it should be kind of even keeled. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll just pass out. You never
lovely.
can tell.
I love that idea.
Beef, how you doing tonight, man?
You know what? I'm pretty good. I know there's a segment of the population that ingests White Sox podcast that is tired of hearing about sports betting, but go fuck yourself, because that's what we're going to talk about right here out of the gate. Your boy, the Beef Loaf. I put up a bet that I made before the season started. I actually woke up in the middle of the night when the Twins signed Carlos Correa, and I couldn't believe it. I went to pointsbet.com and I bet the future, and I bet $250 at the Twins to win the division plus 900. So that's 9-1. I put it out there on Twitter this week. I asked people, what should I do? Should I cash out? I got a chance to cash a $250 bet out right now for over $1,000. And it was mixed. Some people were like, yeah, no, let that ride. You got to let those ride. Other people were like, you know what? You got to cash that out. And our friend, Sam Panianovich, friend of the show, works for Nesson, gambling expert, but also a big White Sox fan, said, Beef, cash out all that fucking money and put it directly on the White Sox future to win the division right now. So I have to ask you, gentlemen, what do you think I should do? Should I cash this thing out? Should I let it ride? Let's put it out there right now. Treasy, we're gambling nerds. For my Kelly stake is smaller than that, so I can afford to keep this bet on. It wasn't something I needed to hedge back. All right, go. What do you guys think? Should I keep it on or take it down?
So I was thinking about this the other day. If
yes, wow. First comment: White Sox sell $20. Says tell MSS to go away for 20 minutes. That seems a bit much.
That's not the rules. So I'll give you 5 minutes though. I'll give you 5 minutes. We'll talk about this.
We'll talk some gambling for now, right?
You're going on mute, buddy. Sorry about that. So, Beef, I was thinking about this, right? And I'm thinking about it in terms of a very slow live betting situation, right?
Yeah.
So here's an example. You're live betting soccer, right?
Yep.
And you want to bet on the team that's down, and they have the ball in their half in the opposing half.
Yeah.
You don't bet it then. That's not when you bet it, right?
Right.
You wait until the other team has possession and they're running out some clock and the clock's going down, so it's getting even tastier for you. Right. So cashing this in after the Tigers series seems like a terrible idea.
The Sox are on the upswing, so
they're going up. You're probably getting some money put on them because they're drawn nearer in the division.
Yeah.
After an Astros series, for example, and look, man, I want us to do well, right? I want the Sox to have a great weekend, but they've got the Astros and the Jays coming up back to back.
Yep.
That might be around like Monday, Tuesday. Might be a point where you're just like, okay, now maybe I cash this out.
See, you know what, though? I hear your logic behind this, but I'm not a market timing guy. I was literally just pulling it up randomly saying, hey, I didn't even know I could cash it out. And I'm like, okay, cash it out. Should I just get rid of it as good luck for the White Sox? Because we want the White Sox to kind of come back. Anything could happen, though, tomorrow. Someone key on the Twins could get injured. And then it's like, oh, man, then I wish I would have cashed that out. And I don't know what the value of that thing is going to change to. So it's a tough decision. I'm usually a let it ride guy. I'm usually not a hedger. I mean, we've hedged in the past when we've had big positions on stuff in sports betting, but generally I'm not a guy who likes to hedge on any shit. I usually just let it roll. This was more for good luck for the Sox. I was thinking about the good mojo I could put out into the world, you know?
I would normally never cash out of a position. Yeah. I just don't use the cash out button unless I incorrectly bet on something and you can just cash it out for the full amount.
Yeah, I made a mistake, right?
Then I'll use it. But what I was thinking is like fandom comes into play a little bit, right? We're not in the days of we're doing this for a living,
right?
Yep. Or even a side hustle, right? You kind of Beef. I bet you're like me, where you're using the skills just enough to like put some money in there, and then you go, and now I could play with this money, and then
that's right,
and you kind of keep it good, and then go like, yeah, you know what? I'm up a little bit. I could bet $50 on Danny Mendick hitting a home run tonight.
Right, exactly. You can have some fun with it, right? Some of the bets you're using, you're like, okay, I'm getting a good bet here. The other ones we're using for entertainment at this point in our lives. We're not really trying to hustle and sweat it out. So I think for now, I agree with you. I'm going to let it ride at least through the weekend. We'll see what happens. If the Sox have a good weekend, then we'll see what happens there. But I also have another bet. So I have a second bet that we got to talk about. And this one is not at pointsbet.com where I made that last bet. Where you can go promo code 108.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can get promo code 108 and we'll get a little kickback and you'll get a little something for doing that. And that's good for everybody. No, this bet was made man to man with my buddy Josh Nelson. And it was a stake bet. Now we made a stake bet earlier in the year about the about when the the lockout was going to end, and I lost that one to him. And I bought him Gene and Giorgetti's. And we had a great meal there. So now we do another stake bet, and this is when AJ Pollock started off kind of crappy, and he wanted to do let's do over under WRC plus by June 30th. He originally suggested 100, but I pushed him up to 108. I haggled a little more on this bet than I did the last one. Right now, AJ Pollock WRC Plus as of this morning is at 95. Now we're on June 16th, so there's 2 weeks to go for the 13-point swing there. What do you think about this bet? Am I in trouble here? I mean, MSS is going to come out of the penalty box in a minute, so I'm going to let you go first, Treasy, and then I want MSS to weigh in and see what he thinks.
You are in trouble. You are in trouble. And here's what you need. Here's what you need more than anything else.
Yeah.
You need a bunch of guys to get hot.
Yeah.
That are not AJ Pollock, right?
Okay.
Like AJ Pollock can continue on his kind of gradual upswing that he's on right now.
Yep.
But if the rest of the league starts to hit, if it's warming up and the rest of the league starts to hit, it's going to be harder for him to gain in WRC plus. His stats will go up. But WRC plus is looking at the average across the league, right, and seeing where he fits. Is he above or below? So he has to be 8% above the rest of the league, or the rest of the league median there. Right. And so I think you need some guys to start to explode, man. You need and why not have it be Luis Robert and Yoan Moncada? I mean, why wouldn't that be lovely?
That would be helpful.
My Sox summer. What do you think, my friend? Welcome back.
First off, thank you, Sal. Like, I know you meant this as a big FU, but like I had nothing going into the gambling segment because I don't gamble and I don't understand that. I don't understand numbers. It makes perfect sense why we have a gambling, backer and, work with two gamblers and everything. It's just it doesn't make any sense. Now, so Josh bet against our boy getting a high.
No, he bet on it.
He's got the over. So he's got if we get to 108 and we're at 95 right now, he wins. If we stay below 108, then the beef loaf wins.
Okay, so you said that AJ is gonna suck.
That's correct.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, I fuck you. I hope you have to buy him because hey, listen.
All right.
I mean, AJ came in and everyone was already like, okay, this is better than having a Kimbrel. But he's injury prone. Blah blah blah. Now we finally have a number 18 back that is blowing it out all over the park. It's just unbelievable. I love it. I love how he's been hitting the ball. It's been great. He's taking away that 18 curse. So I just hope he continues and hopefully doesn't get hurt. That's what I hope. Shut the fuck up, Sal.
So basically, I should cash out my Twins bet so that I could pay for the steak dinner that I'll end up owing Josh. Is what you guys are saying?
I think you should hold on to the Twins and then you just pay for it later.
No, you know what, MSS? You know what he should do? He should cash out. I saw how much that Twins bet is for. He should cash that out, and he should take me and you to dinner with them.
That's true. All right.
We should get in on this. Why not?
Oh, free ride.
Yeah.
See how it is. Okay.
You get no free ads, but free steak, right?
Free steak.
Free steak.
Exactly. No free ads, but free steak. I see how it is. I see how you guys do me.
I'll take a free hamburger. I don't give a fuck. Just give me something free.
I'm sure you would.
You're so funny, fat fuck.
MSS, how you doing?
I'm doing good. And I didn't think I was going to have anything. Hold on one second. I didn't think I was going to have anything to talk about. But yesterday, one of the neighborhood moms who's in my youngest is, her daughter was in my youngest's class. She's like, oh, we weren't going to have a birthday party for so-and-so, but we decided to have one. And if you want to bring your kid by at 5:30, that's cool. So I do like the dad thing where I'm like, hey, I'm going to pick up her. She's got to go to her sister's baseball practice. But after that, I'll drop her off thinking she knows my other daughter. And she could be like, yeah, just drop them both off. They can hang out, and come back at 8 o'clock and pick them up. And she goes, oh, that's awesome. We'll see you then. And I was like, damn. So then I'm having to temper the expectations on, my oldest and saying, listen, you might get an invite, but you might not. So just go up to the door and tell, her happy birthday. And then we'll see what happens. We got to go. Now, I'll give my daughter a lot of credit because she went into the house and goes, the mom was like, oh, you can take your shoes off because she had her spikes on. And she goes, you can take your shoes off. And she goes, well, I don't know if I'm staying. And she goes, oh, sweetheart, you can stay. Yeah, please stay. And I was like, yes. So I'm like, this is great. So I'm like, thank you very much. No food allergies. You can feed them anything, and you can even hit them if you want to, if they get out of line. And then I roll out and I like get right on the car phone, and I'm like, boop, 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 and to the wife, I'm like, listen. She's like, hey, what's up? I go, we have no kids till 8 o'clock. Like, get dressed. We're going to go out to dinner. We're going out to dinner. We're going to do this. And she's like, all right, cool. And she goes, what sucks though? And I go, what sucks? She's like, we got that fucking orientation meeting on Zoom for fucking, I'm not reading this yet. I'll read it later and respond to it later. Joe, you dick. So anyway, I'm like, we're going out to dinner. So we go out to dinner. We go to Poncho's, which is a local. This is my first like fucking meal like out since like October. Like real one, right?
Were you in prison or what?
No, I
wait a minute, so long since you went out.
What I eat,
you still go out to eat. I mean, you don't have to like. You're not eating bread, water at home, motherfucker. Don't lie to us.
I'm out to dinner though, but like, okay, what am I? You guys should know this. But anyway, we fucking go, and I'm like, can I eat a whole fucking steak burrito dinner? And because I'm unsure. I don't know because my stomach has shrunk a little bit. And I'm not as fat as I used to be. Whatever. So we get there. I fucking order my steak burrito dinner. I ate every fucking thing on that plate. So I ate a whole goddamn burrito. I have not shit my pants yet. I did really good with the eating. Sal, I had to take longer to explain the whole story because you muted me for 5 minutes. So it's mostly your fault. Chorizo, how are you doing?
Wait a minute, you were going to tell that story during my gambling story and mix it in there? Like
No, I had to make the story longer because he knew to me for 5 minutes.
Let's go back a little bit because I need to get in on a couple things in this story. So,
please.
First off, the last time you had a birthday party, if I remember this correctly, you were like, well, you're worried about how many people are coming. And then for someone else's birthday party, though, your idea is I will shove all my kids into this birthday. Every one of my children needs to be at this birthday party so I can go do some other shit. And I'm going to put on them to worm their way into it. Is the way I heard it. Tracy, did I miss that? Or is that how it sounded to you?
It did. It sounded like that. But the other thing that I have a question about is you're like, okay, we got the kids over here. There's the party going on. And now I'm going to get out of here and we're going to go eat. How much did you eat at the party? Because I feel like you stopped in for a slice of pizza. No. I feel like you at least took a corner piece.
Like a handful of M&Ms at least. Like something. Yeah. There had to be something going on.
If they had been eating and they're like, hey, do you want a piece of pizza? I've been like, absolutely. And I would have grabbed one. But they were not eating.
Okay.
So I did not eat anything there. But yeah, no, I listen. I think, well, if you don't know what you're talking about, you don't have 2 kids, you don't know how it is to get both of them out of the house at the same time. It's not very easy. It's gambling, like you guys. You're like, hey, I'm gonna run this, see what happens here. I'm gonna throw up the situation and see if I can get lucky and have a free babysitter for 2 hours so I can go spend $85 at Poncho's. That's
people with 2 kids always acting like they're moving fucking mountains over there. You can hire a babysitter, all right? I mean, like, I don't even understand what the question is here. Like, what? Give me a break. I get that. I get that when you have the 2 kids with you and you're out trying to do stuff. Yeah, that's the deal. I get that. But how do you get rid of your 2 kids? Yeah, you just get a babysitter or get someone to come over and watch them. I mean, I don't even know. Like, you got nice kids too. It's not like you got these wild bad kids or something. So you stuff that, or you stuff.
They're only bad for me, for God's sake.
That's right.
They're really good for everybody else.
They're good for everybody else.
And we picked them up. She's like, oh God, they're so sweet. Your girls are so sweet. And I was like, I don't know who the fuck I just left here. Because I'm picking up different kids apparently because they are not sweet.
MSS was a pitcher of margarita in and 3 lines of Coke by the time I got to get the kids.
Their steak burrito is really good though. I like their steak burrito there. I don't think it's probably everyone's favorite, but it was really good last night. And I haven't had it in forever, so that probably helps. But it was really good. It was really good. We only had 2 hours, Sammy Davis Jr. You son of a bitch. You picked Poncho's. Well, yeah, 2 hours. Plus, it's my freaking wife's favorite fucking restaurant.
Did you get the regular burrito or did you get the giant burrito that they have to send in 2 bags when you get a takeout?
No, it's just the regular.
The 17-incher, that thing's huge.
Yeah.
No, this is the comment though that I wanted you to see my sucks. I'll read out loud for the podcast listeners. Joe Latham, longtime guy, says, I love that MSS is one of the neighborhood moms. I would love to watch a bunch of middle-aged ladies deal with this unhinged maniac. I'd like to see that too, actually. Soap opera.
When I get I do have a network of stay-at-home dads that when we do chat, we have nice. My one buddy, Glenn, he's got 2 or he's got 3. And he's got 2.
Oh, does he talk shit to you like you talk to people with 1 kid?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, but they're younger, so it's even harder. But here's the thing: as opposed to doing what Loaf does, I'm more sympathetic to him. I don't tell him, "Oh yeah, you act like you're ruling the world with 3 fucking kids, asshole." I'm like, "No, man, that sucks." Because
you came at me, bro. You can't
navigate 3 fucking kids and then a schedule and all this stuff. I kind of got lucky with the younger one could stay home, and was sleeping. We didn't have to worry about naps and waking her up to go pick up her sister, take her stupid sister to freaking ballet, all this shit. It's just crazy, man. Zach, look at you, buddy.
The comments are on fire right now. I cannot read all of them.
It's pretty amazing.
I literally, Dan, I had fucking cash. I tipped in cash. Ooh, I relish the fact of writing 0 on the tip. And just writing the thing and then leaving the cash. That makes me really happy. And it's 20%, standard 20% across the board, unless they're horrible. But even then, it's probably still 20% because my brain can't figure out 15% or 12%. It's just go 20%. That's
it's easier. Yeah, I agree with you. It's easier.
What is my internet bad?
No, it is not. It's fine.
No,
You froze up for a second on one of them.
A couple
but
of
okay.
freezes. You're all right.
You're all right. Don't worry about it.
You're all right, Spider.
How you doing, Terezi?
I'm doing good, man. So yeah, as you probably noticed from the title of this podcast, it's damn hot outside, man. It's insanely hot for the past few days. So Tuesday, I went into the office, and I work in River North, and I stepped out for lunch, and it was thick, the air. It was like so humid. It was super hot.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna go somewhere close and just get some stuff, come back. There's a restaurant on the corner of where I work with outdoor seating, and it was packed outdoors.
People didn't care, huh? They didn't.
What's wrong?
Worried about it.
What's wrong with you people? There's not even like fans or anything out there. Like it's just like you're just sitting on the sidewalk, just boiling. So what are you doing?
It wasn't like outdoor shaded with windows open where there's like a little bit of the air conditioning blowing out. Is it something like that at least, or no?
No, beef. I mean, like part of it is against the building.
Okay,
like there's like a patio there, but some of it is just literally on the sidewalk, just tables on the sidewalk out there in the street, right? I mean, like, and I'm just sitting there in disbelief at these people. Now, beef, you and I, we talked about this on the playback when we played the Royals. We once ate at a place because we were trying to get some Kansas City barbecue. It was like 100 degrees out. The only place that was not a 50-minute wait was outdoor seating at this joint, and we did it.
Yeah, it was at Jack Stack. We went Jack Stack. 90 minutes if you wanted to wait to sit inside. You can sit down right away if you want to sit outside. It's 106 degrees. We did it. We powered through it.
Purely out of necessity. There are 1,000 restaurants in River North. I don't know what these people were thinking. But my question to you guys is, what is your outdoor eating range? Like temperature wise? What does the temperature need to be outdoors if you're like, yes, I will take the outdoor table today?
What am I eating?
That's
Anything?
a good question. You know?
If I'm eating pasta, like, no.
So it's a non-salad. Like you're eating actual food. Like you're having a sandwich or something for lunch, or you're having like like a bowl of meat. You eat bowls of meat, right?
Bowl of meat. He loves getting meat in his mouth. Don't let him lie to you. I'll go first.
That
I'd love
bowl
to
of shit from KFC that they used to have.
Oh, those famous bowls? Those
the
were
prison
good,
bowl,
actually.
yeah.
Prison bowl.
Those are good.
That's the only thing you've eaten since October. I'll go first. At a certain level, it becomes uncomfortable. And I agree with my Sack Summer. Like, depends on what you're eating and also what you're drinking, right? If I'm having a margarita, it's a little easier for me to control the temperature. I'm drinking something cool. If I'm drinking red wine like I am right now, that's brutal. The warmer it gets, the warmer your body gets. Like, so if it's like a red wine meal, I can't go above like 75 degrees when I'm gonna sit outside. If I got a margarita in my hand, I could sit outside 85 degrees, somewhere like that. So I can get up there pretty high if it's like margarita. It also depends on what am I allowed to wear. Like if it's a Mexican restaurant, I can wear shorts. Great, 85, 90 degrees. If I got to wear long pants and a work shirt,
this is lunchtime. This is lunchtime on a Tuesday.
Yeah, like 75 degrees, maybe 80 degrees max is about I can do. I remember a time in my young working career, I worked in River North, not very far from you work right now, Treasy. We decided it was a good idea. We're going to take the train down. We're going to go to the Taste of Chicago. It was like 95 degrees down there. We walked around. I was a puddle. Like I sweat through everything. I sat at my desk the second half of the day freezing because I was in the air conditioning and I was just like sweaty and disgusting. And like, luckily for us in public accounting, it was during the summer. There's not that many people in the office. So like, otherwise I would have had to just go home. So yeah, I know there's a capacity. I say about 75 degrees for me, in work attire.
Yeah. If I'm at work, I don't think I'm going over 75, especially because if we get like a deli sandwich or something like that, that keeps it cool. If I'm having a beer, that keeps it cool. A lot of ice water, okay. But once you start getting over 80, and if it can even be lower and the humidity's higher, and it would just no. Like if it's really humid, like Tuesday was bad. Like it was just like death. Like it was like a death. Like you couldn't breathe. It was so gnarly. Wednesday was not much better, but there was a breeze, so it wasn't like horrible. Sal, I haven't had a normal job since like 2016. So no, it is. It is. Is it theoretical? Yes. At this point, it definitely is. I can go inside my house, and eat my lunch. But yeah, so that I don't think. I think about an 80 is too high. I think 75. I think 75 is my max.
Yeah, 75. Like, you don't realize especially if it's sunny out, how damn hot 75 is. If you're just sitting there eating your bowl of meat and just trying to have a nice lunch,
right?
Just trying to fucking scrape it all up with a spoon. Yep, I get it.
my Sock Summer, big favorite. Ask you here, buddy. Why don't you pay some bills?
Let's do it. Summertime. Holy shit, it's hot. So damn hot that a 95-degree breeze is fucking refreshing. That's crazy talk, folks. And if you're anything like me, you flipped on the AC on this week in the car. And our good friends at Mazda of Orland Park want to give you a few tips on how to keep that air cold AF. We want you to stay cool in the Chicago hot months. And Orland Park Mazda offers an air conditioning service meant for your Mazda. Their factory-trained technicians know everything about the air conditioning system in your Mazda and know how to properly maintain it. Is your air conditioning just blowing out hot air? Have you ever tried to defog your windshield but are unable to? These are signs that you need to bring your Mazda to Orland Mazda. You may need a simple AC recharge, or you may need to have your cabin air filter replaced. The older your cabin air filter, the more likely it is not protecting your Mazda from proper airflow. They can also clean your evaporator at the service center, whatever the fuck that means. Maybe you didn't have any problems yet. You don't want to be stuck in the exit line at the Jimmy Buffett concert and find out that you have the slow leak in your AC is slowly dying. Fuck no, you don't. That's why AC maintenance is so important. And what are the benefits of routine AC maintenance? It removes airborne contaminants, ensures optimal performance, prevents larger repair of your AC system, crucial to properly defrosting or defogging your windows, finds leaks before they become problematic, and ensures proper refrigerant levels in your Mazda, and it keeps your AC running like new. Curious and want to know more? Check out Mazda from Orland. Check out their website, www.mazdaoforlandpark.com. Or maybe you're looking for something different. They have all sorts of options. Give them a follow on Twitter at ZoomZoomNation, as they're known to give away tickets for and parking for Sox games. And remember, as always, $500 off for Sox fans. Mazda of Orland Park, home of the Zoom Zoom Nation. 8910 West 159th Street, Orland Park. 708-444-3200. Zoom Zoom. Listen,
wonderful.
No,
wonderful.
That was horrendous. I should have spent 5 more minutes writing this than I did making that graphic. I mean, the graphic is fly. Don't get me wrong, but I will get this ironed out, and next week it will be top banana.
The podcast listeners cannot see the graphic, but you did have Will Smith. You had
that's DJ Jazzy Jeff.
DJ Jazzy Jeff, and Chugging with Fresh in the comments says Will Smith looks like he's having a stroke in the picture. So that's how you know you did a good job on it. That's really it. I'm going to be honest with you. So
a little bit. It's guys, it's time to do a little baseball talk. I feel about a little baseball talk, my friends. So the first up on our baseball talk is this fella is back. Lance Lynn is back, baby. And he had a little bit of a tiff in the dugout with our guy, Super Joe McEwing. And, Beef, the question is, has Lance Lynn's attitude jump-started this team?
Yeah, that is the question here. And for those who kind of missed the exchange, Lance Lynn, after coming into the dugout after an inning, he and Joe McEwing were getting on each other. After the game, Daryl Van Schouwen comes with the quote. He says, Lance Lynn on his exchange with Joe McEwing, quote, "He was trying to get me going. He kept telling me that filet is better than ribeye. I'm more of a ribeye and potatoes guy. He's a filet and like Caesar salad. I told him he was wrong, and then we went back to coaching third." So there was a little dust-up, little disagreement between two professionals, and then back away we go, and I like the way Lance Lynn ended up playing it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that that's really anything. I'm not sure if Lance Lynn is a quote-unquote leader. I don't really know what that is in it, but I think it just feels good to have everything in its right place, like Tom York would say. with the White Sox. And it probably feels more comfortable for this team having a teammate like that come back. And you know how it is when you're playing sports or in a workplace or whatever. If you get a quality teammate back, someone who's a main contributor, it makes it more comfortable for everyone else. It's less of a load to carry for everyone else, less strain on everybody else to perform to bring someone like that back. So I don't know if it is a leadership thing or not a leadership thing. I just know when you get one of your good guys back, it makes life easier on everyone. And that seemed to be playing out in real life kind of as he was there having that argument and then post that argument. What do you fellas think?
What do you think, my Sox Summer?
I think that he has been on the sidelines the whole season. He's watching a team that has great expectations on it, has a lot of talent on it, and he is a competitor, and he's probably pissed as fuck watching this team go. And then he gets out there. I think there was two things going on. He was mad at himself for giving up the hits. The second was there was a shift, potentially. They had a shift on for a guy that doesn't even have an MLB hit, had not registered an MLB hit until that moment. Why are we shifting on a guy that doesn't have a hit? How do we know where he's going to go all the time when there is no data to support where it's going to go? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So, but I also watched the John Boy thing, and then he had the two quotes at the end because McEwen responded too and said, he was pissed more about the pitching, his pitches, and he had said something to Lance, so it was less about the shift. It was Lance was just pissed at himself and was throwing hands up, and then Joe's going, hey, you can't show up, everybody, or whatever like that. And he's like, fuck you, go coach third. You don't need to be telling me what to do. I'm not doing that. I'm not showing you up. I'm more mad at myself than I'm mad at you, even though the shift is kind of stupid. You shouldn't have done that. So at least that's what I thought. And I also think that he is, I don't know if he's a leader, but I know that he's definitely a fun clubhouse guy, because the next day they have video of him and Savala just hanging out in the dugout, and Lance is clearly busting his balls about something because he keeps saying stuff and looking at Zebby and looking at him and then laughing and going, yeah, right, way this fucking totally fucking with him. So I think that he's probably bringing something back, to the team. Hey, you guys, you're up in your heads right now. Let's forget about all this crap and let's just let's move forward. What do you think, Treasy?
So, it's interesting. You touched on something that was interesting, which is for some odd reason, they're shifting on Cody Clemens, who doesn't even have, he had I knew he doesn't have a hit. He also only had 20 Major League Baseball plate appearances. Nothing about this guy. Any data you have on the way that he hits is worthless. Right. It's either too small of a sample size in the majors, or you're looking at his minor league stats, which don't mean shit when you get to the majors. So that was odd. And it's even more odd because it's a team that doesn't normally shift. Last year, they barely shifted. So it's again feeling like a fancy play or overthinking and kind of just do too much. And it's backfiring again. Now, it did lead me to a different question, though, because I was watching this, and Lance Lynn, see, here's the thing about this, is Lynn was probably pissed at himself because he knows that the shift is there, and he could easily make a hitter as shitty as Cody Clemens hit into that shift. But he failed to do it. He allowed a pitch to get in a place where he could hit out of the shift. And I was thinking about this in terms of not so much the Sox pitchers sometimes, but the fact that Gavin Sheets was getting hits against the shift because guys were like, I could strike this guy out. And they're throwing him the ball on the outside of the plate to try and get him to swing and miss. He's just touching it, and it's going against the shift. And I'm wondering, and this is kind of a separate question here, but do the Sox shift less than most other teams because they are so reliant on the strikeout? When you have a team that has to strike guys out all the time, and you're going to try and think about pitching to Javi Baez. You wouldn't want to shift on Javi Baez, even if you know he's going to pull the ball, because what you're going to try and do is throw sliders that go off the plate. And if he gets just the tip of that on the outside of the plate, he's going to beat the shift. And so I'm wondering, are the Sox not shifting because their pitchers just only want to strike guys out?
Yeah, there's probably something there to that, Treasy, because they have led the league in strikeout per nine rate. I think they were top 3 last year. I think they were number 1 last I checked this year. And they are very reliant on that, and they have a poor defense too on top of it. So it's kind of like the game plan is we got a bunch of guys who miss bats. We were talking about it a little bit during the playback. Josh Nelson had brought it up, and we were going back and forth about how the White Sox don't really have a guy. I mean, other than Kopech occasionally in a couple of his starts with economy of pitches where okay, we're going to get this guy out in 1 or 2 pitches to save our pitch load here. These guys run up big pitch counts, and that's why they can never get deep into games. It's because, okay, they're at 110 pitches already, and they're at 5 1/3 innings of this game or whatever. So I think the game plan is that. It's good to miss bats, but you're right. I mean, maybe they don't have that other gear. They don't even play for that other gear at times, and maybe that's why they lack the shifting, and it reared its ugly head so much when you played the Astros in the playoffs, because they're a team who makes a ton of contact, and they didn't really have any way to go in the other direction, right? They don't have the team that could make you make weak contact and get out that way. It's got to be the strikeout team. So that's an interesting question there, Treasy.
Yeah, I mean. Bad defense and not knowing how to shift really cost us that Astros series. I mean, they were hitting balls like little legs of Tuve. You got every fucking ball up the middle, and our guys could shift and probably be right there and still not get it. It was just weird. It was weird to see that. And before the John Boy thing, I didn't even know that Clemens hadn't gotten a hit yet. So it's no, this is doubling down.
They talked about it, and then they showed them throwing it off the field. So this is the first one here.
Yeah, they're he throws it to the trainer because he's got tape, and then he writes on it, and then he puts it wherever the balls go.
my Sox summer, you had brought up a point about him, he keeps it loose, Lance Lynn, and yeah, but. You'd also brought up he knows this team has been down or playing a little too tight. Do you think it's a conscious effort? Or do you think it's just, hey, my personality is big, it just comes in here. He doesn't even think about all that other stuff. It's just, I'm here, I'm going to be me, and that does it automatically. Or do you think it's a conscious effort of oh, everyone's fucked up, I better think of ways to loosen them up? Or it's just it's him.
That's just who he is. It's like people ask us, the two people that we get asked about the most are Ken Abreu and White Sox Dave. And they're are these guys really like that? And I would say on Ken's aspect, it's not necessarily, he's not as abrasive as he is online. You know, he still has the same opinions, but he doesn't call you a dick nose to your face. He needs to do that behind a keyboard. He will not probably call you bad, maybe he'd call you a jabroni to your face, but he normally wouldn't do that. White Sox Dave, there's no act involved with White Sox Dave whatsoever. White Sox Dave on the computer, on a video, in person is the same person. There's no act with White Sox Dave. He is just that person. That's how he thinks about things. This is how he responds to things. That's just who he is. So I think that's how Lance Lynn is. I think he is just a naturally quick-witted, funny dude. He would be really good in one of these seats, right? He could figure out what we're going to talk about, and then he would be okay, I can put something funny in here if I need to. Now, the biggest thing that has not been discussed at all yet, the ribeye potato versus filet and salad. Now, we know where Mailman Jack falls. He's on the potato side. We know who falls on the filet and the salad. That is Jeff the Giant. But our guy, Joe McEwing, doesn't even eat meat at all. He's a pescatarian. He only eats fish. So,
good pull.
That was another thing that was in the John Boy thing. He's no, Lance had. So not only did Joe McEwing get yelled at by Lance Lynn, and then Lance Lynn apologized or whatever and made a funny joke, Joe McEwing doubled down on the funny joke and did a funny joke in the thing after. He's listen, I don't even eat meat. I eat fish. So I know I was trying to tell him I don't even eat that stuff. My question to you guys, does a guy who only eats fish, would that impede his ability to know how fast somebody could get from third to home? If he was eating red meat, would it be better? Were his eyes better? Would something be better for him to judge the distance between third and home and how fast maybe a Yoan Moncada can run home or a Jose Abreu can run home? Anyone
anyone on a high seafood intake knows the top speed everyone can get out of themselves because you've had to at one point run that fast to the bathroom.
Right.
So there's that not so fresh shrimp that you ate. There's that gas station sushi that you took down.
That came up on you a little quick.
And you're like, oh, I got two choices here. Porta potty or a great story for the 108 podcast.
My mom was a pescatarian for a really long time. So like I know she would yell at me every time I mispronounced it.
I'm gonna be honest, man. There is the risk of getting like the mercury buildup from eating too much, just having fish all the time. It's not good for you. I've heard of people getting it and really having to get off of that. So it's possible that that's clouding up Joe McEwing's brain and he's not doing a great job with the Sens this year. I just think he's a massive risk taker. I just think he just likes to take as much risk as possible with the base runners. And he's had a fast team, and sometimes he forgets and sends Yasmani Grandal. He didn't remember it's not one of the fast guys, and Grandal's up by like 30 feet, and we're laughing our asses off in 108.
So that was a terrible decision. I will say, for the most part, though, the interesting thing about McEwing is that I think that in a lot of cases he's a little bit of ahead of the league in terms of, unless the guy out there is a known great arm out there, he's going to run on him. Because the outfield arms have gotten worse and worse. So I think that I like what I like what he does in most cases. But yeah, the Grandal one, even I was shaking my head.
K-Dog in the comments says he only eats fish from the Chicago River. That actually, there's enough pollutants in there that would offset the mercury. So I think he would be safe if that's what he was eating. But otherwise, I don't think it's good for your thinking.
I mean, Lawrence's is right on the Chicago River. At least some of that's got to be coming from the river. And I love Lawrence's. I'll eat that all the time. All right.
Deep fry anything, you can taste fine. And I saw that Sammy Dave Jr. said something, and he's right. Like, Howard Stern had to stop eating salmon because he ate it all the time. And they're like, your mercury levels are off the chart.
Yeah,
like,
that'll happen to you.
Stop. You have to eat something else. And he was also eating that and also eating like cucumbers. And you can't digest cucumber seeds. They just sit in your stomach, and they had to do like a colonoscopy, and they're like, listen, bro, you got to stop eating all these things because there's like a shitload of cucumber seeds in your colon right now, just like hanging out. So mercury and like fucking cucumber seeds up in your ass. It's
cucumber
great,
seed
great
colon.
I saw them.
I was gonna say, who makes that beer? What brewery makes that beer?
He's silent.
All right, let's talk about someone that we know and love, and that is Jose Abreu. Now, Jose Abreu is beef. This is your question, so I'll let you ask it. But you want to know why Jose Abreu is underappreciated by the younger generation and stat forward fans?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a struggle that's been going on for years, and just to set the table, there was the narrative after the 2019 season that Jose Abreu is regressing. Jose Abreu might be a guy you only play against left-handed pitchers. And then the White Sox re-signed him 3 years and $50 million in the offseason after that. And I wrote a blog about how I thought the re-signing was good, and I thought they were likely to benefit from this. And I caught a lot of shit for that article, and a lot of people, naysayers, and because the intelligentsia were on the other side of it. They were like, "Oh, the Jose Abreu aggression's coming." I remember it so much so that Herb Lawrence, when he first started doing Locked On Sox, had me on there just to talk about this contract and just to go through it. Of course, what happens after that? MVP though, and a bunch of years of great performance. I don't know if it's partially that. I don't know if it's the fact that Andrew Vaughn was drafted with a top 3 pick. And he's been presented to us as the heir apparent for Jose Abreu, and actually he's doing a terrific job in 2022. 2021 was a uneven year for Andrew Vaughn. 2022, he's been hitting terrifically. I'm not sure if it's, that he wasn't part of the plan. Like, you saw all these young players coming up, and it was like, oh, this is the core group or whatever, and you kind of forgot about Pito. And Pito now is 35, and he's still extremely important to this roster. Could it be that my own daughter, Bonita Stakey, and it was echoed by Allie White Sox, a fan favorite, calling me mid for having Jose Abreu as my favorite player? Is it like Jose Abreu is of the older generation? It's like the old guys that don't know better. That's their favorite player when we got all these young, exciting players. Lastly, could it be bandwagon fans? They don't have the history with the team and didn't see through all the crappy years when Jose Abreu was like the only vestige, the only player worth watching out here other than a Chris Sale start. Jose Abreu so far in 2022, just to put in perspective how good he's playing right now, he has a 142 WRC plus, which means that's weighted runs created plus. That means he's 42% above league average. He is 35 years old, for the record here. 35-year-old doing this. He has his best walk rate of his entire career, 12.6%. He has his best strikeout rate, meaning his lowest amount of strikeout percentage, 16.1%. He leads the White Sox in home runs at 9, runs scored 34, RBIs 30, doubles 14, hits 61, and walks 33. He is absolutely lighting up the scoreboard. So I ask you fellas, why do I see so much he's the first one to blame out there?
So let me throw out a little bit of a theory here that I think some people get caught up in, and it's looking at things in a vacuum, right? You're looking at the stats, or you're just looking at people's lines, or you're looking at what they've done previously, and you're looking at it in a vacuum where you don't have any of the factors, right? Like, so let me give you an example of what I mean by in a vacuum. If I were to ask you, hey, it's lunchtime, do you want a soup or a sandwich? That's an easy call for anybody. Right? They have their favorite. They're going to choose one of those. Yeah. Now, if we leave the vacuum and I say it's 105 degrees and I have no utensils, you're taking that fucking sandwich 100 times, right? 100 times out of 100. That's how you have to look at Jose Abreu a little bit. When you look at something like his ground into double play numbers, it gives you pause. You're like, oh my God, look at this, right? But you've got to, and then there's another stat, which is RBI, which people have a problem with. And people have a problem with it because it's typically, not typically, it's partially dependent on the rest of your team, right? If you don't have guys getting on base, depends on where you hit in the order, all these things, there are dependencies there. However, it's still a valuable stat. And so when you look at those two things in a vacuum, it might look to you like, well, yeah, Jose Abreu gets these RBI, but he gets all these ground and double play, and you don't want to have outs. Of course you don't want to have outs. You only get 27 per game, so that makes sense. But when you start to look at the other factors, and you look at the career of a Jose Abreu and how shitty the teams he's been on have been, or you look at the guys around him that don't drive in runs maybe that well, right? Yasmani Grandal, I love Yasmani Grandal, and last year he was tremendous, but the guy walks a lot, right? You don't get walks as good as a hit. Yeah, again, in a vacuum. But when there's guys on base, unless the bases are loaded, you're not getting RBI from a walk, right? Like, so there's certain things where Jose Abreu has been forced to hit to contact throughout his career as the main run producer of this team. And that's going to cost you when you're just looking at the stat line. When you're purely looking at, like, what does this guy do and what do people complain about? What makes people upset when someone says, oh, man, he grounds into so many double plays. And you look at, oh, my God, yeah, he grounds into a lot of double plays. But you don't have the context of why he grounded into so many double plays. Because the guy behind him for, like, most of his career had no chance of even getting a hit, right? And then even when he had guys behind him that had a chance of getting a hit, they walk a lot. So, again, he's in a position where he's kind of feeling like, there's guys on first and second. I have to make contact here. I have to put this ball in play. This is on me to get these guys in. And I like that he has that kind of ownership of it. It leads to double plays. It's going to happen. It's a byproduct of what he is. And I think it's strange to me that people have trouble accepting that, but can accept guys who strike out incredible amounts, right? Like, there's still, I mean, like, it's weird to me that, like, one is so acceptable and one is not. But I think that that's partially why Jose Abreu gets a bit of a bad rep from people. And I get it. I get, like, I don't want to see him ground in a double play either. And when he grounds into a double play, I go, here we go again. I'm there saying it too, man. I'm with you. But, like, you got to think about it is the context of his career and the context of the way that he plays. And the way he plays has been extremely valuable to the White Sox. And I think that can't be understated.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Treasy. And I think part of the reason, too, is that he's just too damn consistent and too consistently good. Like, people don't realize it. Like, if you tell them, yeah, he put these numbers up outside of 2020, no one was like, oh my God, look at these fucking crazy numbers. Like, his 2020 season was insane. His stay at Wrigley in 2020 was insane. He just hit so many goddamn home runs. Like, that made everyone just go, okay. And that was probably the one year everyone was like, Jose Abreu, I really like this guy. But the rest of the year, over an extended schedule and like a long ass schedule, he consistently puts up these numbers, but it's nothing flashy until you go back to look at it and then say, oh, okay, he did it. But like, that's why the younger generation guys, we gotta like that. Because he's like, even though, like, I'm still pulling, even though he's not on our team, you're still pulling for a Miggy Cabrera to get a fucking goddamn hit. You're like, this motherfucker's 39 years old. Like, get a hit. Like, you know, he's 5 years younger than me, and he's still playing, and he's making like 75 million this year or whatever it is. You're just like, God, this is insane. This is crazy, and I love it. But Jose Abreu, as far as like the stat people, I don't get it, like why you wouldn't like it. Because he is it's just he is a guy that you need on your team. As Chirizi said, he is somebody that the Sox have needed all these years to put together. Plus, he never quits. There is no quit in Jose Abreu. He never stops. His head is falling off because he just got pegged in the face or got run over by some stupid catcher we had. And you're like, I don't think Jose's like, I'm playing. You know, my ear is slightly lower, but I am still playing. You know, he's just a stud. And I mean,
that's a good call, MSS. Like, his durability is way underrated. Like, the guy always shows up. Like, we'll talk a little bit later in the podcast about injuries, but he's a guy who doesn't really get. The only time he got injured was when he was almost going to lose his ball from a torsion. Yeah. Like, that's a reason not to be in the lineup.
How tough he is.
He's always in there. Yeah.
You know how tough he is. They said we're gonna have to get rid of one of these balls, and he just said, no, I'm gonna make it not happen. I'm gonna untorsion myself. Like, I don't know how he did it. I'm impressed by it. I don't know what kind of dance he did, but he should teach it to everybody else.
Anti-torsion dance.
Yeah, no, I love Jose Abreu. And when he retires, I will get his jersey. So then he'll never be on another team, and it'll be fine. So
I'm gonna get his Marlins jersey next year.
How dare you? or later this year when he gets traded.
Oh man, the fire sale. All right, let's talk about a different guy. Let's talk about a different guy for a minute, who had a tremendous game against a tremendously bad team. Is Yoan Moncada back? And MSS, I'm going to go to you first. Is Moncada back? Great graphic, by the way.
Thank you.
I love that it's his back. And is he back? It just made me right? Smile when I saw it. It made me smile.
It's good stuff. I don't know. The Detroit Tigers
Great
are
answer.
Totally horrible. So the thing that I can say for certain is Yoan Moncada is still within that body. And while he is not hitting premier elite pitching up in Detroit, he is still hitting major league pitching, and it's not like happening in Birmingham, right? So, like, these guys are at least good enough to string
some
together
position
a few
players.
wins.
Some position players.
Some position play. Whatever. That was later. We'll talk about that later.
Only 2 of his 5 hits were off position players. No big deal.
Motherfucker. What the fuck? Anyway, I'm saying that it's going to be hard to tell because who are they going up against this weekend? The Astros, who like are just going to probably just annihilate them again. You know, like it's not, you go from the worst to the best. So I don't think we're going to get a fair depiction on who he is until maybe we're playing against Toronto, because it's just, he could be back, but it's hard to say that because Detroit's just not good. They don't look good. And like my eye test is the way that I decide things. And I'm like watching it going, I don't think these guys are good. And then when I got on the playback, I was like, these guys aren't good, right? And Nelson's like, no, they're horrible. And I was like, okay, good. Because I was pretty sure they weren't good.
Line that one up, huh?
Nice. Yep. Beef, what do you think? You think he's back?
Goddamn, Yoan Moncada went 5 for 6 on Wednesday. It raised his average to 181. I know batting average is a little off vote, but just seeing that, like, and I tweeted it, and like envisioning it, it's like, wow, that he was way down, you know. And you know, there's been a lot of skepticism because he hasn't been impacting the ball. Like our guy Josh Nelson, who's up in the comments right now too, he put a thing out there about how he's not hitting velocity, like he's not hitting anything, you know, kind of above 90 miles an hour. In that game, he did actually connect on a home run on a pitch that was 93 miles an hour, but that's been a rarity for him. One of the things I looked up to, because I was thinking about this, Treasy, is there still a lingering injury here? Is like kind of part of this, and my thought is probably yes. And so what I decided to do was look up his defense. I'm like, well, let's check the defense and see how it's going. And if you gauge it based on outs above average, he has 0 outs above average, so he's kind of like a league average defensive third baseman right now. That's also subpar for him. So it has me thinking that like there is still an injury there. I don't know if maybe, Wednesday is a sign that he's feeling better. Maybe Wednesday is a sign that they figured out ways to cope with it from a pain or comfortability perspective that kind of made it easier. I don't know. I'm just happy that there's one excellent performance to hang our hats on and give us some hope. Like I don't know that I believe it yet, but at least gives me a chance to want to believe it. You don't want to look at a guy who should be a young star playing the way he was and think to yourself, is this guy done like at this age? Or does this guy need a long DL stint or IL stint? Now I'm less scared about that, but I'm not sure that he's back yet. I need to see a little more. I'm with MSS. I'll probably know by the time Baltimore leaves town if I think Yoan Moncada is back.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Beef, I thought a similar line of, is the oblique healing? Now, if you've watched a lot of baseball over the past, let's say decade, these oblique injuries seem to nag these guys for almost the entirety of a year, right? Because it's the muscles that you're going to use when you swing the bat, right? Now, I wonder, though, is it possible that Yoan Moncada has a better chance of healing from this during the season with the amount of days that they give him? Because they do kind of rest him a little bit more than other guys. He still plays a tremendous amount of games for a guy that everyone thinks is hurt all the time. He plays a tremendous amount of games.
This year, yeah.
But he's also a switch hitter. So it might be easier for him to heal from something like this. And is it possible that he's healing now and that he could string together even a league average bat? If Yoan Moncada has a league average bat and his defense comes up just a little bit, he's a very valuable player to this team. And I think that that's what could be interesting and what I'm watching out for. I'm not looking for 2019 Yoan Moncada. I've never been looking for that. I think, if you remember, I was in the camp of he's going to be a really good defender and be like high 700s OPS. Now,
you thought that was the outlier year pretty much immediately. You thought
this year high 700 OPS is like the best player in the league. But again, that's, to the idea of like where that would normally sit with players. And so I'd love to see him just get back to that. Just get back to a little bit above league average bat, a little bit above league average glove. That's a valuable player. We could use like 4 or 5 of those players this year. We've had a lot of guys who are way underneath it. So yeah, I don't know if he's back, but I hope that his side is okay. That's I'm more worried about his side than his back.
I mean, truth be told, he doesn't have to come fully out of this thing if he starts hitting the daylights out of the ball occasionally. The weak contact is what we're seeing, and him just swinging through things, especially from the left side, is scary stuff. It's like, okay, the guy can't catch up to this pitch. Oh, when he does catch up to this pitch, it's like some weak contact. It's like, that's frightening. The most encouraging thing was the home run, in my opinion. Like you could dink and dunk your way to 4 or 5 hits. Like Andrew Vaughn's 4 hits the night before was like, there were a little bullshit singles over, and nothing to take away from Andrew Vaughn. He's been great this year, but it was like, that was a cheap 4 hits right there. But when Yoan Moncada plants one in the right field seats, and it was a deep home run too. So it was like he really hit the ball hard. It starts getting okay, maybe something good is happening here. But I'm with you guys. Yeah. I'm not ready to commit to he is completely back, even though I'm hoping and praying. And I'll probably do another ceremony to try to bring him back. I remember we ate Twinkies on my deck 4 or 5 years ago to get him out of a slump. And then I burned a Wally money card in my backyard one time to try to get him out of a different slump. So we're always trying to do something to get Yoan back. We need to get him back here, baby.
Let's go crush some Hooters.
Those I'd rather that than eat another chocolate Twinkie. That kind of sucked, just to be honest.
Oh, you didn't like the chocolate aisle?
Yeah, it kind of sucked, man.
I like the chocolate aisle.
You know what else sucks my suck summer?
Sup?
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us on a live stream right now and haven't subscribed, make sure you tickle the undercarriage of that subscribe button and get on board. If you have already subscribed and are watching the show, talking smack about MSS's internet and generally meat gazing at Treasy E and I, please smash that like button in the face. If you are listening on the podcast feed and have never enjoyed the eroticism that is the YouTube version of this show, come to youtube.com/FromThe108 and hit that subscribe button. Our previous goal was 1,000 subscribers. We're currently at 1,100 plus. That's going to allow us to make minimum wage for about 1 hour per month if we do a full podcast schedule. You just can't beat that. So get your friends, your family, your dog, everyone to subscribe and allow the 108 to fulfill the dream of becoming YouTube thousandaires. I love you.
How hot would you be in that sweater today, Beef?
I would melt. I'd have to jump right in the cold tub immediately with that thing on. I got to address this, okay? Because MSS is always busting my balls about the pre-recorded ad. Frank F. is out here saying hair trigger mute on that pre-recorded nonsense, solidarity with MSS. Look, let me just tell it to you this way, boys. You're always crying about this, but that ad read is much more successful than the Mazda one. More people subscribe to the YouTube channel than buy Mazda. So you want to prove me wrong? Go out there and buy 4 or 5 Mazdas, motherfuckers, all right? Go to Mazda and buy some shit and say 108 sent you, and then we'll get rid of that prefab bullshit, you know?
I was unaware you had to acquire a loan to subscribe to people on YouTube, but now that you've done that, where's our money? I mean, that's what I want to know. Like, since it costs $20,000 to subscribe to us on YouTube, where's our money?
We should make that the subscription fee. See how many people subscribe.
We'd have
all
one
right,
subscriber.
Guys, I'm not done. I'm not done, man. I don't want. I want to talk more baseball. I wanted to do some more White Sox talk. I think we're doubling down today. We got a bunch of White Sox talk.
Sorry, Sal. We've been banned from talking about that by MSS. We can't talk about that.
Yeah, MSS told us we can't talk about that topic. All right, so fellas, 3-game sweep of the Tigers. Does this change your mind about this team at all? Or are we looking at it going, it's just the Tigers? My Sox Summer, what do you think?
I mean, the Tigers it's 100%. It's just the Tigers. Now, what I definitely relished in was all the people that told me how great of a manager A.J. Hinch was last year and how he got his guys to outperform their expectations last year, solely based on his management style. So the Tigers went out and signed some people for him, put some people on the field for him. They have $120 million payroll. I think it's separated by $40 million from us, or it's something. It's very similar. I mean, it's not similar. If they had 2 more stars, maybe it'd be a different story. But don't tell me that he's such a great fucking manager that they're just going to magically win because they sucked ass. And he proved it after he tells these guys that he's disappointing them, that they used 3 position pitchers to go in, and he has tons of relievers available to him, people that hadn't pitched in days that he could have thrown in there. And this is all from the Joe Sheehan News article that Mr. Hand slipped me. So, yeah. This is AJ Hinch. It just made me happy. Fuck Josh. I'm sorry. I'm not a numbers guy. So anyway, I think I saw some different numbers, to be quite honest. I think it was a $60 million difference. But I think that it is just the Tigers. It's a very ho-hum thing, but it gave me a good time to spike the ball a little bit on AJ Hinch.
I don't mind spiking the ball on AJ Hinch. I never thought he was that great of a manager. He sucked before, then he went to Houston and cheated, and now he sucks again. This is unshocking shit to me. Beef, what did you think about this series? Do you feel the Sox are back?
Back on June 4th, I put a tweet out there and I said, I'm starting to think White Sox Twitter needs to go back to its Honey roots to get the team out of the slump. And then I retweeted it yesterday, and someone went back and did the math, and they said, if my math's accurate, 6.8 runs per game since June 5th. So close to 6.9, which would have been the ultimate horny White Sox Twitter number of runs per game. So really good. Appreciate that by Kyle Wynn running back and checking that out. I'm brought back a little bit, not just because of the Tigers, but maybe it's in part of them. It's because in that streak, their offense has really bounced back. And that's the part of the equation that we just felt like we weren't getting enough of. And it's not just Jose Abreu, who we mentioned earlier in the podcast. Jake Berger's hitting the daylights out of the ball. Since the June 5th, he's got 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 8 runs. He's hitting 385. he's slugging a gigantic 808 in that time. AJ Pollock, who I'm going to lose my stake bet to if he keeps hitting like this, is also hitting the daylights out of the ball. He's hitting 410 with a 413 with a 513 slug in that period of time. In fact, the only guys that really aren't hitting very much are the previously died Gavin Sheets, who went back down, and then a guy who may come up later in the conversation, Adam Engel, has been horrible in this streak. He's hitting 063 over those couple weeks. So the offense as a whole is getting well, and you're getting production from kind of almost everyone in these lineups and scoring a bunch of runs. That's, in my opinion, the way the White Sox kind of need to win games in the interim here, especially with some bullpen arms down. I put the tweet out on the Section 108 account this morning, and it was the White Sox hitters OPS plus, and it's a metric from Baseball Reference that puts you against the rest of the league, and it's 100 is generally average. They're at 96, which is 20th in MLB. And the pitchers, ERA plus, so that's the same idea, metric that's, kind of bounces out at roughly 100, weighs you against the rest of the league, is 98, and that's 21st in MLB. So the hitters, White Sox hitters production for the whole year has passed up the pitchers right now. And I know it's dragged down by Vinny Velo and Dallas Keuchel and some bad bullpen stuff, but that was eye-opening. So I think the offense coming through right now and continuing on and getting healthy with Tim is a huge key here. And if playing the Tigers, however many more times we got them, 13 more times or 11 more times or whatever, is the elixir, so be it.
Beef, you wet your beak in what I want to talk about here. So speaking of, did the Tiger series change my mind? It did change my mind. It made me worried about something else.
Uh-oh.
So
Ooh.
I was worried about this hitting because the hitting has sucked. Has absolutely sucked, but they actually were able to hit a little bit. Now it is bum slaying. That's fine. However, Lance Lynn, 4 1/3 innings, 88 pitches. Dylan Cease only gets through 5 innings, 108 pitches. This is against the team tied for last in walk percentage with the Sox and 26th in strikeout percentage. These are guys that are not going to take walks. Why do you have such a high pitch count against this team? And what the fuck is that going to look like against the team we're playing this weekend? That is terrifying to me. When you can find it, you're going to the opposite end of the spectrum here. Yeah. You're going like a top 5 team in both in walk rate and strikeout rate, as opposed to you were just against the bottom of the league and you couldn't get through 5 innings. That's not good for what you got to do this weekend. And so that's what my mind has changed on. It's the affinity to have to strike guys out. And I know Timmy's out, and that hurts, right? And you got Danny Mendick back there playing shortstop, or Lurie Garcia back there playing shortstop. That you don't have the same confidence in that.
Yeah,
but
not as good.
But man, you can't throw that many pitches, especially with a bunch of guys injured in the bullpen. Your bullpen is thin. You got those Tanner Banks out there. Davis Martin, the Dart, did have a great. Thank you, Josh. He did have a great game. I tried to add that game into it, and I was like, nope, everyone did pretty good here.
Yeah,
Benny Velasquez did just fine,
and they realized they realized the point there. Treasy is like, we don't got to strike everyone out. Let's just get people out. We're going to throw a lot of strikes and let this crappy team try to hit out of it, and they couldn't. And in the game when they did that, they scored no runs. So it goes to show you sometimes just attack. Now the strategy might be a little bit different starting on Friday with the Astros, but against these crappy teams, put it in there. Man. Let's do it.
It will, Beef, but at the end of the day, you got to locate the pitches.
Yeah,
and you can't tell me that Dylan Cease threw 108 pitches in 5 innings, locating the ball exactly where he wanted it. No way in hell. No. And so that's
definitely did that.
That's the concern. That's the concern, especially secondary pitches. We've seen it all year. The Sox having trouble with secondary pitches, not getting those over the plate, and it haunting them. And when we're gonna run through the Astros and Jays, I don't want that. That's not a good result. And so, it changed my mind. I think that the hitters might actually be coming around. They might be getting back, and I love that. AJ Pollock has looked good. He's not quite steak dinner yet, but he's looking good, Beef.
We don't need him to get too good.
Abreu,
we don't need him to be steak dinner ready until after July 1st. Then he can be steak take dinner prime by then.
Abreu is all the way back. Timmy's on the way. Andrew Vaughn's hitting. There's a lot of good stuff. I want to see Luis Robert bounce back a little bit more, but the hitting is starting to take form. So the pitching concerns me.
So you have Giolito going tomorrow. You have Cueto going against Verlander tomorrow, which is just going to be
on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. I'm sorry. On Saturday. That made it move when I saw that. I'm like, this is a battle of the olds. This is great.
Verlander's been terrific this year too.
Right.
He's
of course,
been really good bouncing back.
Of course he has. He's on the juice. And then on Sunday, who do we have Sunday? Oh, of course it has to be the last one. To be determined for the White Sox. So I don't know who's pitching. Who would that be? Kopech?
Well, that's the idea.
That's the spot.
The Sunday game is supposed to be Kopech. We'll see.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. So I don't know. And then you're going to get backs, and then you're going to have Lynn come back, Cease come back, and then play against a Toronto team at home, which will be nice. That'll be nice, right? That'll be fun.
Thanks, Yumper. Appreciate it. Let's have a cocktail, boys. Let's drink it.
So
it's 9 drinks we owe, right?
That's correct. We'll knock those back throughout the course of this next few minutes.
Yeah. So I'm not too worried about that, Chirizi. I think you had an off game. I mean, it's something to pay attention to, but I also think that, if next week, if you see that out the next start, maybe then we got to talk.
So someone put it's Comic Punk guy. Cueto brings raw sexual energy. We were talking about this beef. We were at the game. I think if you don't start Johnny Cueto, right? Like if you're having him come out of relief like we did the other day, and if they put a opener in front of him, he gets to come out of the bullpen on his horse. It's only fair. It's only fair that he gets to come out like that.
I mean, I'm against it, but you guys overruled me 2-1 and said yes, he should come out on his horse. So I'm okay. I'm going to deal with.
Let me ask you a question. Are you a bullpen car guy? Are you a fan of the bullpen?
Absolutely. Absolutely I am. Yes.
Bullpen horse. Bullpen horse just as good.
If it's the merry-go-round horse, I could deal with it. I'm not a real horse guy. I'm just not into it. I don't need them around. I'm sorry, You're
so
what
weird.
If it takes a big, beautiful shit in the middle of the field?
Okay, then I could be down with that. And I want to see this. I want a close-up of the Sodfather on the scoreboard when it takes a big mountain shit right on the field, right on his field there. I want to look at him. I want to watch him cry during that.
It's like
no. That stays out there. That becomes a hazard. Someone's gonna slip and
slide.
Lurie
Garcia falls in it for sure. Lurie Legend's my guy, but he falls in the big pile of horse shit for sure.
It's like the Billy Madison, play it as it lies. This huge TV tower has smashed in. It's all fucked up. And you got to play.
Oh no, he's got to play it. I had to hit it off Frankenstein's fat foot.
Beef, if you thought that Jake Berger looked bad on pop-ups, wait till you see him after he steps in a huge pile of horse shit. He's trying to shake off that spike, trying to catch the ball. It's very difficult. It's like a dance move.
Number 2 for me, Yumper, right here, buddy.
Yeah, Yump. Cheers, buddy. Thank you.
Yep.
And thanks to Sal too. Could we use 5 more minutes of that? I'm just kidding.
You want to shut me up? I'm happy to be quiet.
I think
if I was going to get into more horse talk, I would have you shut up.
You go to the horse angle. That's a good idea.
All right, fellas. So here's another scenario that I want to walk you guys through. So
horse shit game worn jersey trees. I think Wally Money would definitely have that. For
Wally
sure.
Money has one of those from
Evan Marshall.
I think he has the Evan Marshall horse shit worn jersey. The Jose Rondon horse shit game jersey. So soon, Tim and Eloy are going to return. Okay? Tim probably first, and then Eloy. That means 2 guys have to go to the minors in order to make this happen. That's just how rosters work. Now, there's not a lot of guys that can go to the minors, but an interesting date that we got to keep in mind here is June 20th. So on June 20th, the rosters have to balance unless they extend it again. But there's no indication that they're going to extend this further. People are healthy enough from spring training at this point, or from the shortened spring training.
And when you say balance, it needs to have
13
no more
pitchers.
than 13 pitchers.
Right. You can't exceed 13 pitchers, and then you have 13 hitters. So it's 13 and 13. The Sox are currently at 14 pitchers, 12 position players. They got that. That's why they have the 3-man bench, because they're carrying an extra pitcher. They need that extra pitcher right now. The bullpen's a little worn out. I think if they get through this weekend, okay, they'll be fine. When Timmy comes back, one of those bullpen arms is going to go back to the minors. I don't think anyone is too concerned with that. There's plenty of guys that have options. There's plenty of guys that could spend some time in the minors, and it wouldn't be a big deal.
Ruiz.
However, Ruiz doesn't have an option, so
he can't. So he'd have to just go away permanently.
You'd have to DFA Ruiz. I don't think
the guys who'd probably go down are Davis Martin or Jimmy Lambert. Would probably be the prime guys that would likely go down. I would guess Davis Martin, just so they could put him back on a normal starting cadence, because he won't be able to do that here.
The only way Martin's not going to go, or one of one is not going to go down, is if you have to IL Kopech, which would resolve the situation either way. Because Velasquez would stay in the starting rotation, and then you would have balance.
Yep.
Now, Eloy comes back. There's not a lot of options on the hitting side for guys that actually have a minor league option, unless you DFA somebody. So, assuming they're not going to DFA Josh Harrison. They're certainly not going to DFA Leury Garcia, as much as some people want that.
No, he's not going anywhere.
He's valuable. He'd get picked up immediately. You're going to have to send one of these two guys down. And I'm going to lay it out for you guys, and you guys tell me which one you want. But I think people are going to be upset about either of these choices. And the number one is Danny Mendick. And I think a lot of people are right now going, I want Danny Mendick to play second base every day. And then the other is Jake Berger. And Jake Berger would be sent down because there's just not a lot of right-handed DH spots available once Eloy and Andrew Vaughn are on that roster, and especially if AJ Pollock is hitting. So it makes it really be one of those guys. You have another option. You could send Adam Engel down, but that leaves you very thin in center field. It's basically, if Luis Robert needs a day off, you're going either Leury Garcia or AJ Pollock. So don't throw up too much when I say that. So fellas, which of those do you think they're going to do? Or do you think they go outside the box and they actually DFA Josh Harrison?
And that's interesting, Treasy, because these are a lot of the options that I had on my plate here too.
What do you got?
I don't think they DFA Josh Harrison just yet. I also don't think they're going to send down Danny Mendick. I don't think any way in hell. I mean, the way he has covered up for Tim during this period of time, he's hit the ball well, and at the beginning of it was a big BABIP fest, right? It was just like, oh, everything's falling in for the guy, but that's starting to normalize back down. Power's being added back to the profile. He's not a great defender at short, but he's covering up enough of it. I mean, he probably makes more sense at second base. I think he's probably your second baseman once Tim Anderson comes back. I think that's the alignment they're going to go with. My thought is that they probably end up optioning Berger, and the reason why is because, like you mentioned, Treasy, there's not a lot of room to play him, and his functionality decreases when you add back Eloy Jimenez to the roster, right? So like, it was nice to have Berger here while there's no Eloy, because there's no one to fill that DH spot, right? Just plug this guy in every day, and then when Yoan Moncada needs a rest, you slide him over to third and let him play, and like let the power play. But you're almost kind of making a Eloy versus Berger decision, because let's say you do DFA Harrison, right? And you put Berger on the bench with this kind of alignment or whatever. I guess if you give Eloy a day off here or there, that it's worthwhile to have Jake Berger to play for him. But once you get out of that cadence where he doesn't need a day off with regularity, you can't really use Berger much of anywhere, and you can't really use him to, I guess the only spot in the short term you can use him to pinch hit is the catchers. You know, in theory, you could use him to pinch hit for one catcher to replace the other, but where he was also valuable previously with a worn down White Sox roster pinch hitting, it's becoming less so because of that, right? And I love Jake Berger. I love having his bat in the lineup, and like I read off in the last segment, he is killing the fucking ball right now. But it almost looks like this is probably the direction they're going to go in, because the roster is weird if you do it a way where you keep him on there, because he's kind of way underutilized. Like, you're just not going to use him enough in any of the formations.
Yeah, it's where do you fit him in the lineup, right? And I think, a lot of people will want Berger at second, and I think we could just admit that it's not going to happen. They would have put him there for at least an inning at this point. They would have had him out there trying to start him there if that was an option. It's just, it doesn't seem to be.
And that's weird because they would do that. Yeah, they would 100% do that. Because I was thinking that. I wanted to clarify again between you guys because I know you told me before he can't play second. So if he hasn't been thrown out there yet, then he's probably not going to be. I think you guys are giving Harrison too much credit. I think that he could definitely get DFA'd. I think you could see them write this out. And what I think would be a big changer is before this deadline, if Mendick and Berger continue the successes that they've had, like if Berger hits 2-3 more home runs, it's going to be hard to say you got to send this guy down.
Yep.
And you know what? Maybe you make it work. And Josh said in the comments, Eloy's not moving. He's not running right now. So it's not like it's going to happen immediately or anything. So let's just write it. Maybe we write it out a little bit more with the Berger and the Mendick and see what happens. Even though I mean, Danny Mendick is not high on my list of people that I'm like, I really like Danny Mendick on this team. Even though I've seen a lot of his jerseys at the park, which is hilarious. It's like, wow. But he's succeeding, and maybe he needs the MSS to doubt him. Maybe he needs that to keep him motivated. Jose Abreu needs everyone to say, maybe this is finally the year that he hits regression. And then he starts hitting home runs like a mother effer, maybe that's what he needs.
Well, I think the interesting thing here, and Josh, don't tell me DFA Lurie. That
you watch your goddamn mouth talking about my legend like that. Okay, he's about to fall in horse shit and short left field. All right, we can't have him off the team, otherwise he can't fall in horse shit.
You know what, Josh? Say what you mean, man. You're in the trust tree here, man. This ain't these other podcasts, man. You could say whatever you want. Say you want to fire Rick Hahn because that's what that tweet tells me. So MSS, you bring up a good point of the fact that Mendick has been hitting well, and we've got some time to watch him. When Timmy comes back, I would say, and then let me know if you agree, you make Danny Mendick the everyday second baseman and see if he turns into a pumpkin.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Take that risk. Take that risk. Sit Josh Harrison's ass on the bench. No one's going to be sad about that. And he could fill in at third if Yoan's not feeling good. He could fill in at second if Danny needs it. There's utility for Josh Harrison in the next couple weeks for sure. And if Danny Mendick shows out for a couple more weeks, you got to start to believe it a little bit, at least enough to go, this was a bad signing. See you later, Josh.
And it's not that
Josh Harrison. Josh Nelson, you stay as long as you want.
Hang out. No, Harrison is not exponentially faster than Mendick either, right?
No,
so it's not like you're gonna get he's really slow, this Danny Mendick, so we need to have some wheels just in case in a pinch run. That's not even an option. You can pinch run with Danny Mendick. Especially when he's on a team with Yasmani Grandal. He's fast.
Or if you're playing Danny Mendick, you'd rather run Lurie Garcia because he's a good base runner. So you would use him as the pinch runner in that spot. I totally agree with that, and I agree with you. I mean, what do you think? Let's put. I want to explore a couple things here. Let's put a timeline on Josh Harrison. Let's assume Eloy Jimenez is back in, we'll call it 2 weeks. Okay, let's give him 2 weeks. It might be a long shot. Who knows?
July 1st, we'll put July.
We'll say July 1st. So what's the shelf life on Josh Harrison before he gets too stinky? We got to get him out of the fridge and we got to throw him in the garbage. What's your date? Let's put a timeline out here.
Beef, I think it might be July 1st.
I was gonna say by the time there's fireworks blowing up all over the place in Bridgeport, which usually is about somewhere around July 1st, July 2nd.
Dude,
well, it goes till September. It goes till December.
Pilsen started. 4th of June was a big holiday over here.
They're just confused.
It was weird. It was literally the 4th of June when we first started hearing fireworks. I was like, what is happening? This is the wrong month, isn't it? I thought I was messed up. I was like, I shouldn't have worked today.
COVID life, bro. Hashtag COVID life.
See, now I'm even more mad at you, My Sock Summer, when I see Bill's comment right there. That is so goddamn funny. He asked when Timmy hits a homer, does he get 2 pasta dinners?
If you guys want to do it, go for it. Go for it.
Well, so what do you think? What's the timeline, MSS? When do you think Josh Harrison gets too stinky?
I mean, I'm not sure. Like, if once I think once he comes back, Eloy, I think you're being very, gracious with saying 2 weeks. I don't think it's going to be 2 weeks. And I think it's going to be hard. He's not really
playing the field, though, at this point, Eloy. Like,
right.
He didn't even play the last couple nights. He was in the batting cage, right? I think. I mean, I don't think he's actually been in the lineup.
Remember the first time he got hurt in the playoffs of 2020? He got hurt sliding into a base. Yeah. Like running, to the base. I mean,
so you think it's gonna be longer than 2 weeks? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I think it's.
I'm just taking a guess. I'm just throwing.
I'm just going with that. I would think that you don't give. He probably doesn't have a huge leash, but Danny Mendick is definitely the call over the Josh Harrison. I don't know.
Okay. That's a
Thanks
weird
for the
thing
non-answer.
I know that's a weird thing to say.
Thanks for the non-answer, you jerk. Now the other thing I want to explore here real quick, and it's a Treasy favorite to solve this problem. How about a bullshit IL stint? Who's your guy, Treasy? Who do we put on there? Total bullshit, so we don't have to get rid of anybody. We can do it for 15 days. We can just throw somebody on there. Who we putting on that IL just to hide them for a little bit?
I think it's an easy call. And if the 5 of 6 game is just a mirage. And Yoan continues to not hit. I mean, just put him in an ice bath for 15 days, or 10 days, whatever the IL is. It's 10 days for that. So put him in an ice bath until the All-Star break and hope that his sides heal up. I think he's an easy call because then that opens up the position that you need for Jake Berger. That makes Jake Berger an everyday third baseman, which is terrifying. That's not going to be great, but at least the bat is going to play.
How about you, MSS? Who would you put on the fake IL? Bullshit IL.
Could you do that with Harrison? Because you could do that with Harrison. I think you know what Harrison can give you, right? Yeah. But they could buy 15 days of Danny Mendick and here, over that. So then he could show maybe he turns into a pumpkin in those 15 days. You don't know. Yeah. So it could benefit you that way. I am not as adventurous as Chirizi wanting to throw the big burger, Big Daddy burger at third base.
You're throwing Danny Mendick at second base. It's way worse.
I don't think so.
By the way, here's why I don't like the Josh Harrison idea. Sitting Josh Harrison for 2 weeks doesn't do anything. Like, if you're hoping for Josh Harrison to come out of this and hit one of his hot streaks that he's had over his career, sitting him for 2 weeks is not gonna bring that about. So I don't know. I'm hesitant to say that this is if you're gonna say we're gonna IL him for 10 days or whatever, it might just be time to get rid of him.
Fellas, I'm with the commenters. Here's the guy who I would fake IL is Lurie Garcia. And it's mostly because he has tenure, man. If any guy deserves a damn vacation in the middle of the season, it's my guy Lurie Legend. You let him have a little vacation. He can go to Cancun or something, hang out, chill out, rest up, get better, because we're going to need him in the second half of the season, even if he still doesn't hit like he did in the first half.
I don't see a lot of upside to these. This is just hiding someone. Not about upside.
It's just hiding someone. Yeah.
But I want to do both. I want to have a little bit of upside to it. And if Yoan is not healthy, and that's what's actually causing these problems.
You need an if to do yours. We didn't need no if. We just said we're going to put this guy on there. That's what you need circumstance to do yours. I said fake IL, not real IL.
This guy's an overachiever.
It's still fake. He could definitely play. He could definitely play.
Overachiever. He's like, I'm going to play
things. But fake IL.
It's like, you two guys only can do one thing. I'm going to do two things. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Two big dummies.
That's what you should always be trying to do.
You guys are so dumb. Look at my ass. My ass is so big because I got brains in there.
Oh, man, that's a shot right at you, Treasy, that you're on the Harrison payroll.
I wish.
He doesn't even like Josh Harrison.
He might be.
I wish Josh Harrison makes a lot of money for what he is.
Josh Harrison's got a record label, and Treasy is the board op. Yeah,
Josh Harrison has been on terrible teams, being like a utility guy for years, and the Sox were like $5 million. That sounds good. So yes, I would very much enjoy being on his payroll.
I had him in my offseason plan for $1 million to the White Sox. 5,
which is
nice deal for him.
Which market price? Because we dumped Cesar Hernandez and he went for $4 million. I don't know. I don't know.
Short-sighted.
All right, we got one more baseball topic that I want to get into, and it's a little bit around the injuries. So, my question to you guys is: are the White Sox cursed, or should they have been more prepared for the injuries that they had? And I want to put a graphic up real quick because I think it's easy to watch your team and go like, "Oh my God, I got so many injuries on this team," You look at this. This is our division, and it might be a little small. I apologize. But you could see just by length.
I've been told size doesn't matter.
That there's quite a few guys on the IL for other teams, especially the Twins. The Twins have like 42 starting pitchers on the IL. Like they're one guy they traded for this year. They went out and traded for a guy this year, Chris Paddock. Yep. He comes to the team immediately on the 60-day IL.
Good deal.
Their top prospect that they was either going to be a contributor to this team or turn into a starting pitcher for them out for the year.
Yep.
Right? Like they're having problems too. The Tigers, it's unbelievable what's going on with the Tigers. I feel kind of terrible for some of those young guys that are having like some really bad injuries. I don't think that this is unique to the White Sox, and I think it's strange to see in comments that like we're cursed, or here comes another injury. Everyone gets these, man. Every team is dealing with these, and more so because the lockout didn't help. So there's just a ton of injuries across the league. I don't feel like we're special. Do you guys feel like this is something that is like unique to the White Sox, or that like we somehow got hit with more of our best players got injured or something? Or am I just off here? My Sox Summer, go ahead.
So there's a little bit of bad luck associated with the Sox here. And there's a little bit of a lot of poor planning that's being like thrown in there, because we can't you're going to tell me we haven't been able to pull somebody from the farm to play right field in the last 12 years. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody that has a decent bat that we could get to come through. I understand that the injuries will happen, and we signed an injury prone AJ Pollock. Okay. But yeah, I don't expect them to be too deep at every position, but be at least too deep on the positions that get hurt all the time. Like when you signed AJ, you should have a guy ready to back him up when he gets hurt, going into it, knowing he's going to get hurt. Same with Eloy. He's going to get hurt at some point. Tim Anderson's going to get hurt, and they did a good job with that because we got two guys that can back him up. You got a Danny Mendick and you got a freaking Larry Garcia. So you have two guys.
That's a good job.
Well, I'm just saying. They tried. There.
At least you tried. Is it the Bart Simpson with the cake? At least you tried. That's what you get right there.
There's at least two guys. So, but no, it seems like we just have done a horrible job. It's like we believe the T-shirt, believe in the prospects, and we're like, they're going to be fine. And literally, Loaf posts the meme, and he's going to say it probably now. It's just like the White Sox plan: just stay healthy. That's all you got to
stay
do.
healthy. That's
but
right,
nobody else is probably fucking pulling that bullshit, But then I do see excuses sometimes from other teams when they get beat or whatever. They're dealing with a lot of injuries right now, and they, with some poor pitching. It's like, well, yeah, but that's what we're supposed to do. You're supposed to there's gonna be some bad times. You got to have the good players to step up, and it just if we could just had 1, 2, 3 of those guys, we would be fine. But we don't. We just our cupboards are bare, and it's concerning. What say you, Loaf?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the MSS. It starts right there, and we talk about this with regularity. There are people on the 40-man roster who we don't even know who they are. And when you're at this point of the contention window, the quote-unquote contention window, the 40-man roster should be jam-packed with either one, all players that can help you right now. I I don't know what a Yoan Ibar is. I don't know why we have a Parker Markle on there. I've never heard of some of these things. It should either have those guys that's going to help you, not those guys I just named, but real guys that could help you, not guys that are made up, or top prospects that you absolutely positively have to protect because another team will steal them and because they could be trade fodder for you. The White Sox have neither. The White Sox have a bunch of junk on their 40-man roster. They just cut Yoan Mercedes the other day, and everyone and their mama knew for a year they were never going to bring Yoan Mercedes back up. Treasy, you and Josh Nelson mentioned it on the playback. You knew they were never going to bring him back. Why are they holding on to him for an entire year instead of adding another player in that spot?
Beef, even more puzzling. Even more puzzling. You mentioned Parker Markell.
Yeah.
The Oakland A's just cut that guy. And the Sox picked him up on waivers. Meaning they had to put him on the 40. Why? Why? If he can't bust the majors on the Oakland Athletics,
what's going on?
A team that is running out a 3-man starting rotation. This guy is not for your roster. He's not for your 40-man. I mean, like, the fact that I'm looking at this going like, I can't believe they're blocking Zach Muckenhern. That is wild. Like, I never thought I would even say those words. I didn't even know that name until last year. Like, it's crazy what they have on this 40-man roster and how unprepared they are for even a bullpen injury. Like, if someone went down to the bullpen right now, who are you bringing up? Anderson Severino?
Treasy, that was going to be my next point because in the preparation, I asked this question a lot when they were in the rebuild and kind of going through it. I asked, what's the White Sox competitive advantage? You're going to rebuild like this, but then to keep it going, instead of just having like you had a couple of years, we had high picks and trades, whatever. How do you keep it going? What's your competitive advantage? No one could ever answer that for me. And Rick Hahn likes to compare. He likes to make these comparisons of not needing to spend that much money to what the Rays do. But the Rays do have a competitive advantage. They can create relievers out of absolutely thin air and have them come rolling up like the Gas House Gorillas running around the bases. Like there's that many of them everywhere. And the White Sox don't have that. The White Sox, like you mentioned about the bullpen, when you're looking at like Bennett Sousa's taxed, why do they keep using him? You look down to the 40-man, there's nothing there. There's nothing there to call up. And that's why, like, I'm not a Tony guy, but Tony's been in a bad spot the last couple weeks because he's had guys unavailable that they won't put on the IL, and they won't put them on the IL probably because they got nothing to bring up from the minors to put in there. So You got all these guys that are junk here. So those are, to me, those are the veins of them not being prepared. However, there is a little bit of bad luck here. I'm going to bring this up. We're going to go in the Wayback Machine. Do you remember the 2000s? I mean, we were all fans. We weren't season ticket holders yet, but we were watching all the time. In the 2000s, the White Sox were the fucking luckiest when it came to injuries. There were articles written about what a fucking genius Herm Schneider and Don Cooper were to keep all these guys healthy. You know what I'm going to tell you right now? I don't know if there's any real proof to that. They might have just gotten really fucking lucky with injuries in the 2000s, and now we're catching the tailwinds of all that, and we're getting the bad side of that, right? We're getting the turnover, and we're getting a little more injury bad luck than we deserve. That's evening out for a lot of years. I think it's possible that, hey, you're just running a little bit bad. Not like Treasy put the graph up, not that bad, but you're running a little bad by comparison. You had your good luck already in the 2000s. So I think it's both.
Are we that unlucky, though? I feel like every team that we play, there's guys missing that are important to that team. Like we go somewhere and it's like, oh, well, we're going to miss so-and-so because he's day-to-day. Or we're going to miss this guy because he's on the IL. Or we're going to miss this guy because, he's suspended for some weird shit. Like there's every team that we play seems to have that problem. And, we looked at this at the end of last season, Beef. We looked at it and said, the Sox were unbelievably lucky with their starting pitching health last year.
Right.
And if they're not careful, they can end up like the Padres were last year, where the Padres were unprepared to have that kind of situation. And they ended up with being like 2 or 3 guys as their starting rotation from what they came out at the beginning. And here we are, the Sox have been generally healthy for the pitching staff. Now, Keuchel was terrible, But that was a known commodity too. Lance Lynn got injured and they had nothing.
Right.
They were like, okay, well, Vince Velasquez was a maybe to start some games this year. Now he's a starter. Not until then were they like, you know, we should probably get Johnny Cueto, who was just out there.
Right.
Like Johnny Cueto should have been on the roster already. Like he should have been around already, knowing what you had, knowing the injury risk that you had. And like it's wild to me that like that wasn't in play. And we talked about it before the season. It's not like nobody saw this coming. We did a whole video on what are they going to do for like the 6th and 7th starting pitchers that you know you're going to need.
Right. And they had no answer for it. You know what really chapped my ass? I was looking at some stats for a different, like an article I kind of want to dig into potentially, right? And I was looking at innings pitched. And, you know, Carlos Rodon, only one starting pitcher on the White Sox rotation has more innings pitched than Carlos Rodon right now, and that's Dylan Cease. Rodon has 65, Cease has 68. You know how upsetting that is to see? Because it was all like, oh, well, they must have seen something in the medicals. They didn't know the guy can't pitch or whatever. And then none of your horses are keeping up with this other horse that you just let walk away. It compounds the problem of we don't have enough of certain spots here, and the injuries hurt us more when we make those mistakes. You make kind of like that obvious mistake right there and let that guy go. Like, it's upsetting.
It's wild. And I mean, I think what's most interesting here is that the team will have you think, and the announcers especially will have you think, that we're so close to having the team back together. And once the team's back together, we're going to be good. There should never be an assumption that your team is going to be 100% healthy. That is wild to think that people that people would actually consider that. Every team has an injury. Every team has an injury to a guy that they were counting on when they came out of spring training. And some of them have a lot more than that. I think the Twins themselves have, I think, 3 or 4 starting pitchers and 3 shortstops on the IL.
Brutal.
That's insane. If the Sox had that situation, we might not have enough players to field. Like, so.
You know what? You've convinced me, Treasy. I'm going to cash out my Twins bet. Too many injuries on the Twins. I'm out of the Twins game. I got to cash out of it. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll get out of the Twins business.
I like it. I like what we've gotten to here. All right, fellas. That was the last topic we had, unless you want to talk about anything else. But I'll give you time now for your thank yous. And if you're a audio listener, you know, stick around after the thank yous. Of course, there's a post game. There's a post game on the audio show. So stick around for that. But thank yous. Beefloaf, give me your thank yous.
All right. So my first thank you is to our dad, Treasy. With Father's Day coming up, I want to thank Mad Max for not pulling out, for one, but also for providing us with the fucked up sense of humor that he's instilled in us. Like, if you're someone who loves 108 podcast, loves all the 108 shit, have a conversation with our old man. You'll know exactly where this humor comes from. Secondarily, I got to thank Mrs. Beef, not only for always being there for me and being an incredible wife, but also because she made a little extra rigatoni for me to eat after this podcast. Shoved into my fat face. I can't wait. Boys.
That's great.
I think we just got $1.08 there. We gotta have a nice little drink there.
Did he really, or did he just write $1.08?
It's a different color, so I'm gonna assume it's that. Beef, to your point, I was just watching the George Carlin documentary, and I was thinking of Mad Max because we started watching Carlin at a very young age. Like a lot of his, like I think the Carnegie Hall special, I was like 4 years old when that came out, and I'm pretty sure we watched it live. So yeah, I love that. My Sox Summer. Who are you thinking?
I want to give a shout out and thank yous to first of all, Summer of George, who comes out and just puts on a spectacular show for everybody. Anytime he's in town, he's just drinking like crazy and doing wild and fun stuff. And it's just a joy to be around. My second goes to Shane Reardon for actually cooking up us food and having a tailgate over there and not asking for money. Like, I didn't even see a tip jar. I was ready. I had a 20 and he didn't even have a tip jar. I was like, I'll pay for your ground beef. And then last, I got to do the same thing. My father loves your father, so I'm going to shout out my pops He taught me how to do it. I didn't know that he had never had a rum and coke before until he was on Beef Loaf's deck, the beef deck. It was the funniest thing I'd ever heard in my life. Like, where I get my sense of humor and my sense of bullshitting people, because I will say very similar things, right? But my dad is he's a great guy, and he's like definitely has taught me to go, become who I am, right? And never once did he ever say, "Hey, jackass, maybe you shouldn't major in art. Maybe you shouldn't do this. Maybe you shouldn't." He's just like, you know what? Go out and do what you want to fucking do. And look at me now, baby. I mean, look at me now. I'm wearing a 108 shirt. It means absolutely nothing. And like, we've done so well, and had so much fun doing this shit. So yeah. Thanks, Dad. And thanks, Shane and George. So good times.
So instead of thank yous, I want to instead wish Beef Loaf a happy birthday. It's a couple hours away, but happy birthday, Loaf. And I also echo the happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. There's a lot of them in the comments that, happy Father's Day to all you. Happy Father's Day to the White Sox fans listening, Cubs fans listening too. I'm not leaving you out, Yum. And I do want to do those, especially wish a happy Father's Day to you two guys. I give you guys a lot of shit, especially about your parenting, because I'm a much smarter parent than both of you.
Of course.
But I mean, like, I honestly, I can't imagine parenting a child. I can't fucking take care of a dog. So like, I can't imagine parenting a child. I'm amazed by what you guys do. And with your parenting, not on this show. I think you guys are stuck. But
I'm horrible.
Mediocre. We're mediocre.
Mediocrity at its best. But yeah, happy Father's Day, guys, and Beef, happy birthday. And maybe we'll spend a little time at the casino this weekend. And a special thank you to all you guys that are going to be at Reggie's tomorrow and buy me drinks, because I feel like you guys kind of own to me. All right, thanks everyone. We will talk to you very soon, and hopefully we'll see you up at the park next week. We'll get some White Sox winners. Thanks everyone.
Peace.